I am Chris Harrington, the fourth child of Carl, a corporate lawyer, and Mary, a nurse. At the age of 48, I made a decision that shook our family to the core when I announced that I didn't want to go to college after junior high school. It was like an earthquake had hit our house. My usually talkative parents were speechless at first and then did everything to make life difficult for me. In the Harrington family, college admission was compulsory for all children. My parents secretly applied to 6 top colleges and universities without my knowledge. Surprisingly, I was accepted into all of them, putting additional pressure on me to choose one. The only family member who didn't push me to pursue higher education was my grandfather, Pops Harrington. I've been working with him during school holidays since I was 13. Pops was a pioneer in the field of flipping houses. He bought dilapidated houses from retired owners, repaired them, and sold them at a great profit. A few months before graduating from junior high school, my father and I bought 2 dilapidated houses. Throughout the summer, I coordinated the work of contractors, electricians, plumbers, and painters to ensure that repairs were carried out correctly. Shortly before Labor Day, I successfully sold my second home, receiving almost $88,000 in profit, which I shared with my father. While my peers were working for minimum wage, I was engaged in flipping houses and eventually sold 3 more houses the following summer. My father, affectionately called Pops, strongly recommended that I provide my own financing but still agreed to sign the bills. After the end of the summer, I transferred 25% of my profits to Pops. I had a substantial amount of cash left, which most 17-year-olds would envy. Despite the fact that I was an excellent student and loved to study, deep down I understood that college was not my path. In the end, I came to a compromise with my parents. We decided that after graduation, I would take a vacation during which I would apply to colleges and make a decision with the whole family. While my friends were preparing for their first year of college and working part-time in the summer, I made a different decision. I bought a used Ford pickup truck with low mileage, a basic mobile phone, and started a company called Harrington Construction. I reached out to every real estate agent willing to listen to me, detailing the types of homes I wanted to buy. I promised to use them as agents for the purchase of recommended houses and as sales agents after the renovations were completed. It was a bold move, but it was on this decision that my future ultimately depended. That's how I met the sisters Kelly, Jen, and Mickey. They were in their 20s and were aspiring real estate agents, having recently graduated from college and working as assistants in the local branch of a well-known national company. They contacted me when I was repairing 2 houses. One day, Mickey called me and informed me about a potential property in West Hartford that seemed to fit my requirements. Showing a sense of urgency inherited from my father, I agreed to check out the house. When the opportunity presented itself, I knew I had to be ready to take it. I arranged to meet Mickey in 90 minutes at a modest ranch house that looked about 50 years old. Mickey informed me that the house belonged to an elderly couple who had lived in it for 35 years. Their children, who lived on the West Coast, were eager to sell the house as soon as possible in order to settle their inheritance. Although the house was in good condition, it needed significant renovation. "What do you think they'll agree to?" I asked Mickey, who thought the house would sell for close to $90,000. Feeling confident, I decided to offer $85,500 in cash. I asked for 5 days for the examination and promised to close the deal within 5 days after receiving the inspector's report if there were no problems. Mickey was delighted with this offer, so we returned to her office, drafted and signed the offer, and sent it to the sales agent. To our delight, the offer was accepted. After receiving the inspector's report, which did not contain any unexpected findings, we completed the transaction a week later. "Let's celebrate," Mickey suggested as we left the lawyer's office. Since we were neighbors and lived less than 2 miles apart, she suggested we go for a drink at her beautifully decorated 3rd-floor apartment in downtown West Hartford. After pouring 2 glasses of Merlot, we silently made a toast before taking a sip. "I hope you don't mind if we find alternative ways to celebrate." Dad shared valuable information with me about the real estate industry, including the fact that female agents prefer to work with contractors who frequently buy and sell multiple properties. He jokingly said that if he were younger and not married, he would definitely take advantage of all the benefits offered. Mickey leaned over and kissed me on the lips. When she saw the smile on my face, she leaned in again and deepened the kiss, making it more assertive. Holding a glass of wine in one hand, I ran my hand down Mickey's back, admiring her small, round, athletic buttocks, and then pulled her closer to me. We kissed and explored each other for a few minutes before Mickey pulled away and handed me her glass of wine with a wide grin. After that, we engaged in passionate intimacy. Despite the fact that I was only 18 years old, I had already managed to get a fair share of intimate experience. Most of them were awkward and unsatisfying backseat meetings with high school students. In addition, I had friendly relations with 3 real estate agents, a 43-year-old married woman, to whom I owe the fact that she taught me most of my skills in the field of sexual intercourse, played an important role in shaping my early adult life. Mickey, her sister Jazz, and the next 5 years of my life all played a significant role in my development. When I shared my financial success with my parents after the first year of study, they recognized my success despite the fact that they were initially disappointed with my decision to drop out of college. They saw my passion for the real estate business and sincerely supported me. By the second year of work, I was renting out 12 to 15 houses a year and was actively looking for apartment buildings with 6 to 12 apartments. I renovated each apartment as the tenants moved out and left the property for rent. Managing rental properties became a tedious task, and I soon realized that I needed professional help to avoid late-night calls about broken toilets and other problems. I hired a real estate management company that monitored the rental housing and solved all the problems that arose. Mickey and Jen got married within 2 months, and I was invited to both weddings. I thought that our previous dates, which included a threesome with my sisters, were in the past. But when I turned 24, Mickey invited me to dinner with their husbands and their younger sister, Kate. Kate, a recent college graduate who had been teaching elementary school in the Hartford area for a year, attended school on a swimming scholarship. She was stunning. She was taller than her sisters, at 135 pounds. She was simply a beauty with red hair and hazel eyes. Her athletic figure was accentuated by her long, slender legs and stunning hips. But what really captivated me was her personality. She was smart, sincere, and had an infectious laugh. Despite the fact that I was surrounded by her sisters and their husbands, I was happy to get to know her over drinks and dinner. My excitement increased when she agreed that I would take her home to her parents. As we drove up to the Dunkin' Donuts store, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the opportunity to spend more time with her. When Kate suggested finding a quiet place to talk for the first time together, we took drinks and settled down at a secluded table. "Look," Kate began, "you seem like a nice guy, and under different circumstances, I think I'd like to get to know you better." I replied, "I'd like to get to know you better too. What's bothering you?" Kate expressed concern about her sisters, whom I had been friends with for many years and who, in her opinion, were unfaithful to their husbands. She asked how this would affect our possible relationship and asked directly if I had ever been involved with any of them. Kate repeated her conditions, saying that if we were dating, her sisters would be above suspicion. I agreed to her terms and also admitted that I was not inexperienced but had intimate relations only with men with whom I was in a serious relationship. Despite this, Kate and I decided to start dating. On the 4th date, I invited her to a private dinner at my house, to which, surprisingly, she agreed. When I was picking her up from her parents' house, I noticed that she was taken aback when I pulled up to the parking lot behind my house. I had moved out of the condo into an old farmhouse that I inherited from my grandparents, Harrington, who passed away within 3 weeks of each other many years ago. They were incredibly generous, leaving their children and grandchildren with significant property acquired over a lifetime. Now, the house, barn, and 73 acres of land in a small rural town, 20 minutes from Hartford, belonged to me. Fruit trees, shrubs, and vegetables grew on the site, which I leased to a local farmer to generate income. After much thought, I decided to renovate the old farmhouse and barn. The renovation took 2 years, and the result was a beautiful house with a traditional farm exterior and a modern open interior. The barn was also renovated, completing the transformation of the site. I turned the barn into a spacious garage and storage room, pouring a concrete floor. A gym was created in the back corner, and the second-floor hayloft was converted into an elegant office space for Harrington Real Estate and Construction. In fact, the office served as my personal man cave since I was the only employee of the company. My business was to buy, renovate, and sell or lease real estate. I outsourced all the repair work and engaged real estate agents, lawyers, financiers, and accountants to help with the operations. As a solo performer, I gave Kate a grand tour that left her impressed. The lasagna, asparagus, and salad that I served for dinner seemed to impress her too. We enjoyed our meal on my patio, sipping wine and chatting until the candles went out. "Can I ask you something?" I asked. Kate nodded eagerly and replied, "Of course." I said, "I really like spending time together, and I want to see you more often." I confessed. Kate smiled and replied, "I'm not interested in dating anyone else besides you." Here's the corrected text. "Would you agree to an exclusive relationship?" The smile slowly faded from Kate's face. My heart sank when Kate hesitated and replied, "I need time to think." But then her smile slowly returned as she laughed and exclaimed, "I've been thinking about this long enough. It's time to ask." Then she jumped on my lap and kissed me. It took us almost 45 minutes to get to my double bed on the second floor of the house. All this time, we were kissing, touching, and undressing each other. When we finally fell onto the mattress, hugging tightly, I realized that at that moment, I was the happiest man in the world. I admit, at first, I was worried that I would end up comparing Kate to her rowdy sisters and that the quality of our intimate life would be disappointing. But after a night filled with passion and love, I realized that Kate was the right choice for me. She shared the same enthusiasm for physical intimacy as her sisters, but she also wanted an exclusive and committed relationship. Shortly after Kate and I got engaged, her father invited me to meet for a beer. Although we had always been friendly, I felt that there was some misunderstanding between us. I knew the reason for this, my lack of higher education. The next day, George and I sat down at the negotiating table. Wasting no time, he got straight to the point. George expressed his sympathy for me but stressed the importance of Kate and me signing a prenuptial agreement. He mentioned that he hadn't talked about it with Kate yet but assured me that he would definitely do so. Then he put a manila folder on the table, which contained a laconic 2-page prenuptial agreement, stating that in the event of divorce, each of the parties would retain the property that she had brought into the marriage. Kate would keep all the assets gained from her current and future work, and I would keep all the assets of my business. If we have children, the court will determine the amount of alimony, and each of us will be required to contribute $5,000 annually to the college fund. Such an agreement seemed fair and uncomplicated. I assured George that I don't foresee any problems, but I want my lawyer to study the agreement. I promised to give an answer within a week. Kate and I tied the knot at the end of her sophomore year of college. My wife and I spent a luxurious honeymoon in the Caribbean, visiting several beautiful islands. It was during this vacation that we conceived our first child, Clea, who was born 9 months after our wedding. Just 16 months later, our second daughter, Cara, was born, and 2.5 years later, the youngest, Carla. Despite the difficulties associated with raising 3 small children, we were mostly satisfied with life. In addition to her teaching job, Kate decided to continue her education by earning a master's degree in education and a school administrator certificate. It was a stressful time for both of us, but our careers pulled us in different directions. During these 3 years, my business flourished thanks to the internet. I shifted my company's focus from real estate renovation to buying distressed vacation properties in the Northeast, including Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York. Thanks to the huge amount of information available on the internet, I was able to find attractive properties and conduct a thorough check before making any investments. I decided to buy real estate and quickly sell it to individuals who wanted to make repairs. This practice is known in the real estate industry as wholesale flipping. Although, compared to traditional methods, I did not make such a large profit on each trade, I could make a significantly larger number of transactions, from 75 to 100 per year. Along with investments in residential apartments, I owned a total of 18 buildings with 124 apartments. Due to my authority in the industry, I also became a partner of an investment group that provided loans to other flippers, positioning myself as a leading company in the Northeast region. The most significant change for me and my companies has been the reduction in daily workload. Whereas I used to work 60 hours a week, constantly moving between renovation projects and in search of new opportunities, now my new responsibilities required only 20 to 30 hours a week. It allowed me to spend more time with my family, which I really appreciate. On a typical workday, I would wake up at 4 a.m. to work out for an hour and then prepare a formal breakfast for my beloved wife and children before kissing them goodbye and watching the children board the school bus. I also made sure to prepare a healthy homemade lunch for them. From 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., I focused on work. I talked with realtors about new wholesale deals, looked through reports from credit companies, and dealt with various little things in my field of activity. Most days, I managed to finish work at the beginning of the day to attend my children's classes. After school, I coached their sports teams, took them to a dance class, helped with homework, and cooked a hearty dinner for the family. I felt like the happiest person in the world, combining a successful career and the proud title of Mr. Mom. At the same time, my wife, Kate, decided to change her profession. After leaving the classroom, she went to work as a school administrator, starting from the position of deputy headmaster of a secondary school. She quickly rose to headmaster of an elementary school and then took up the post of deputy headmaster of a secondary school. Just 6 years later, she was promoted to assistant superintendent of our school system. Despite the benefits of a shorter working day for me, Kate's workload increased significantly. She was required to attend numerous evening sports and school events, as well as meetings of the City Council and the Board of Education. Kate's passion for her work and the impact she had on our city did not allow me to complain. Instead, I was happy to take on additional household responsibilities. Despite our busy schedules, Kate and I always found time for each other, both emotionally and physically. By our 12th wedding anniversary, we were getting intimate 3 or 4 times a week. The only obstacle in our relationship arose in the 3rd year of marriage. Kate and I celebrated Valentine's Day together at our favorite local restaurant. As we were enjoying dessert, Kate hesitantly brought up the subject, urging me to keep an open mind. Feeling slightly annoyed by her words, I asked when else I had been open-minded with her. Kate rolled her eyes and expressed concern that I might be upset. Despite the fact that I had booked a table at our favorite restaurant and presented a diamond pendant for the occasion, Kate seemed hesitant to share her thoughts. "Do you think this is the right moment to bring up a potentially sensitive topic, Kate?" I urged. "Come on, Chris," she began. "I mentioned that there's a small chance that it might bother you." I interrupted her before Kate could continue her explanation. "Just tell me what's on your mind." Kate stared at me in silence for a while. Then she spoke up. "Mickey and Jen go on a 5-day cruise every spring. We chose a cruise that coincides with spring break at my school. I would like to go this year." I grinned and replied, "Why would that upset me? That sounds like a great idea. Where are we going?" Kate's initial smile turned to concern as she explained, "No, you don't understand. We are planning to spend a week for girls." I maintained eye contact with Kate while taking 2 small sips of wine, putting the glass down. I asked, "What exactly are you trying to ask me?" Kate looked confused and replied, "I don't understand your question. You started by asking if you could ask me a question." I continued, "What are you asking me, Kate?" After a moment's thought, Kate finally said, "Well, I guess I'm asking if you don't mind if I go." My smile widened as I answered, "It's simple. No, I'm against you going, and I'm surprised you're asking that. What's wrong with me spending time with my sisters?" Kate's annoyance was obvious, and I was stunned. I shook my head and reminded her, "As you know, Mickey and Jen are rampant cheaters. They were like that when we started dating 5 years ago. As you've already noticed today, they are both single after divorcing their spouses. Your sisters seem to attract the wrong men, and you know it. That's why you're hesitant to send me on a trip without you. Is it because you don't trust me? That's not the point. You wanted to know if I was okay with you going on a week-long cruise with your messy sisters to hang out and roll around in bikinis. It doesn't suit me, and it never will." Kate took a moment to collect her thoughts but then said, "You can't stop me from going." "Once again, dear, this is not about that. We're discussing my feelings about you abandoning your family to go on vacation with 2 shameless sisters." "I really wish you would stop calling them loose," I replied calmly. "I wish they weren't like that." Before we could get into the conversation, the waiter came up to our table and asked how satisfied we were with the dessert. After confirming that it was delicious, she mentioned that the last course would be a glass of their famous plum wine. She asked if she could bring it to us. Before Kate could answer, I intervened. "No thanks," I said. Taking a credit card out of my wallet, I handed it to the service staff. "Please make the payment, include a 20% tip, and bring me the check to sign it." Kate was visibly annoyed. She raised her voice and demanded, "We won't stay for wine." Turning to the waiter, she added, "And we'd like to get it now." "Thank you." I had a feeling that the waiter felt that despite the fact that I gave my wife a beautiful pendant, I would not get any action at the end of our evening. Smiling at him, I asked, "Bring my wife some wine and pour me a glass." After the waiter checked my card, I told him to return it to his wife and call a taxi. The waiter's eyes widened in surprise when I casually threw a napkin on the table and went to the dressing room to get a jacket. After starting the car, I looked at my watch and gave Kate 3 minutes to pay the bill and meet me in the parking lot. Here's the corrected text. Surprisingly, she only made it in 7 seconds, but it was clear from her expression that she was furious. As she got into the car, she scolded me, warning me never to put her in that position again. I drove in silence for half a mile. After receiving this news, I took a pause to collect my thoughts before answering. During our conversation, you said that I couldn't stop you from going away for a week with your vicious sisters. In that case, you can't stop me from embarrassing you in public whenever I want, I said calmly. Kate was stunned by my words because I had never talked to her like this before. Wisely, she remained silent for the rest of our trip. While I parked the car at the barn, she headed for the house, and I went up to my office. It wasn't until I was halfway up the stairs that I heard Kate call out, "We haven't finished talking yet. Go inside now." I turned around and sternly replied, "Who do you think you're talking to? Don't ever try to control me again." With that, I slammed the office door, leaving Kate standing in shock with her jaw dropped. In the weeks that followed, our house became tense and cold, and for several nights, I slept in my office. As Kate's departure date approached, she finally came to my office and asked if we could talk. "Of course," I replied, wanting to listen to her. I gestured to a chair and politely asked, "Please sit down." Kate looked at me intently and said slowly, "I don't want to leave while you're mad at me." I replied calmly, "There is an easy way to improve my mood." Taking a deep breath, Kate declared, "Chris, I'm going on a cruise." That's all. We sat in silence for a while before I asked, "Can I share a few thoughts?" Kate nodded, giving me permission to speak. With a heavy heart, I confessed, for the first time in our relationship, I'm worried about the state of our marriage. For the first time, I felt worried that your actions might lead to the breakup of our family. It's not fair, Chris. Do you really believe that I will cheat on you during the cruise? Now I believe that you have no intention of cheating, but when you're with your sisters, enjoying drinks and partying, surrounded by 2 attractive women, in such an environment, things can easily get out of control, especially if 2 of them are known for their flirting. And, Kate, you know I'm not mistaken, I said firmly. Kate blushed slightly. I continued expressing my concern, not only about physical intimacy. Will you kiss other men, hold hands, do slow dancing with your hands on your hips, or let someone put sunscreen on your body by the pool? Chris, you're overreacting. I don't plan on doing any of this. But even if I did, I don't think these things are that terrible, Kate replied. I noticed that my smile made Kate uncomfortable, and I asked if she would do any of the above. She replied that a married woman should not enter into such a relationship with a man. At the same time, she added that if the mistake was made under the influence of alcohol, then this should not automatically lead to divorce. I shook my head in disappointment and expressed my thoughts, stating that we continue to walk in circles in this conversation. I stressed that she had not taken into account my strong emotions and concerns about this trip. I warned her that if I found any inappropriate behavior on her part, I would not take into account her feelings. I would always put the well-being of myself and my daughters first, even if it means thinking about divorce. It's hard to believe that divorce is even being brought up in our conversation. The fact that your decision to go on vacation brought us here is just shocking. Look, I've accepted that I'm going on this trip, although maybe you're not happy about it. I hope you and your sisters have a great time. But I need you to be aware of my concerns and understand that if you do something inappropriate and I find out about it, there will be consequences. I won't hesitate to show you the door, I said firmly. I was stunned when tears cascaded down Kate's face and flowed down her cheeks. She jumped up from her chair, walked to the door of my office, and announced over her shoulder, "I do not intend to do anything wrong." On the day Kate left, we gathered at the kitchen table. Our delicious waffle breakfast left only leftovers. Kate asked about the girls' plans for the week. When the clock in the kitchen struck 8 in the morning, Kate looked at me and said, "It's time to leave." I warned Mickey that we would pick her up at 8:30 a.m. and Janet at 9 a.m. "You're going to take us to the airport?" Kate asked. "I have conference calls scheduled for 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m., and 9:45 a.m. "I have to go to my office," I replied, stunned by her reaction. "What's wrong with you?" "What kind of husband doesn't take his wife to the airport?" she replied as I headed for the kitchen. "The kind of husband who doesn't support this vacation," I replied. The next 9 years passed quickly. Kaylee turned 13, Cara turned 11, and Carla turned 8. I continued to accept my role as Mr. Mom, the main caregiver of our children. Kate appreciated my efforts, which allowed her to succeed in her career as an administrator. I was proud of her achievements, while I was enjoying the strong bond that had been established between my 3 daughters. It was the last Friday in April. Kate recently returned from her 9th spring cruise with her sisters. Putting the phone on silent mode, I quietly connected to a conference call designed solely to listen, not participate. Standing at the open office window, I was enjoying the pleasant spring breeze when Kate's car suddenly pulled into the driveway, followed closely by her sister Jen's car. Kate quickly jumped out of her car, followed by Jen and Mickey from another car. Jen immediately asked, "What's so important?" Kate reassured her sister and offered to talk in the kitchen so that none of them would overhear. Not wanting to risk being overheard, I turned off my phone and switched to the home security app on my mobile. I switched to the camera in the kitchen and saw the women enter through the back door and take their places at the table. While pouring wine for the sisters, Kate refused when asked if she wanted a drink. "I can't. I'm taking antibiotics," she explained. Worried, Jen asked, "What's the matter with you?" Kate hesitated before admitting, "One of the guys I slept with infected me with gonorrhea." Shocked, Jen understood. "You gave it to Chris?" Kate emphatically denied, "No, he always gets upset when I come back from a cruise. We have been living in different rooms for several weeks now." "And if your doctor tells Chris?" Mickey asked. "I don't think so," she replied. "I visited a clinic in Albany, New York, and paid in cash. I told them that I was not married and had only had intimate relations with strangers during a recent cruise. I gave the clinic detailed information about the cruise line and the names of the people I had an affinity with. The authorities will try to find the person responsible for the transmission of the infection." Depressed, I closed the app and headed to the bookshelf, where I poured myself a glass of Knob Creek bourbon. Sitting at the table and taking a sip of bourbon, I realized that I had been mentally preparing for this moment for years. I knew what I had to do to end my marriage with Kate. Despite the deep feeling of sadness and emptiness, I was determined to protect myself and my children. I called my personal lawyer and instructed him to file for divorce, enforcing the prenuptial agreement. I demanded to be given ownership of the house that I inherited from my grandfather and emphasized my role as the main educator of our children. I demanded sole custody of my daughters, which, as my lawyer assured me, would not be a problem. I told them to file for divorce citing irreconcilable differences, but I also prepared a second petition indicating infidelity. Splitting our bank accounts didn't bother me. From the very beginning, my lawyer advised Kate and me to keep separate accounts in case my business went bankrupt. Each quarter, we both made equal contributions to the family budget. I kept most of our finances in my name, but I canceled 2 joint credit cards and paid off the balance using our family budget account. After listening to this difficult conversation, I finished my drink and headed to the kitchen. The girls' chatter died down when I entered. Kate noticed my mood and asked if I'd had a bad day. I took my usual place at the far end of the table and nodded in agreement. Then Kate asked if I wanted to talk about it. Before I could answer, we heard Kaylee come home from school with her best friend's mom. She greeted us all with a hug and told us about her day. When the conversation turned to Kaylee's teasing about the boy who likes her, I noticed that everyone except Kate was fully engaged in the conversation. Kate looked at me with a worried expression on her face. A moment later, the air was filled with the sound of a school bus stopping in front of the house, and then the front door swung open. Kara and Carla burst into the kitchen and were greeted by hugs from Mickey and Jen. When we were all seated, the three nieces were inundated with questions about their recent adventures. Laughter and conversation filled the room for over an hour until a lull in conversation announced the imminent departure of Jen and Mickey. Feeling this, I decided to take matters into my own hands and announced, "I'm calling a family meeting." Looking at the sisters, I mentioned that our conversation would affect them all. I invited them to be present at the conversation. As soon as they agreed, I got up from my seat to refill their wine glasses and pour myself another sip of bourbon. After putting down the glasses, I offered Kate another drink, to which she declined with a smile. Kara joked that she had refused wine on Friday afternoon, and we all laughed, waiting for Kate's explanation. "I may have eaten a little too much on the cruise. I'm working on losing a few pounds," she admitted. Kate breathed a sigh of relief. "What kind of relief is that?" I asked her. Her face paled when I reminded her that she had to avoid alcohol because of the antibiotics. The girls turned to Kate, worried. "Are you sick, Mom?" Carla asked. Kate quickly reassured them, "No, of course not." All eyes turned to me. I took a deep breath to calm down and turned to my daughters. "Your mom just told you a little lie," my voice pierced the air. "Your mom is taking antibiotics for a disease called gonorrhea. It's a venereal disease that she got while cheating on me during a cruise with her sisters." Before the girls could react, she calmly interjected, "Girls, your father is not telling the truth. Go to your room immediately." Kate ordered, and the girls hesitated, turning their heads to me for clarification. Having gained patience, I calmed them down. "I believe that you know that I will never deceive you in such a serious matter as this. Everyone, please go to your rooms," I commanded. 3 small heads turned from Kate to me, which was like a tennis match. "Girls, it is important for you to know that I have contacted Mr. Phillips, who is my lawyer. He'll prepare the divorce papers this weekend and make sure Mom gets a copy next week." Anger flashed in Kate's eyes. "How could you involve our children in this personal matter?" I met her gaze with an expression of disdain and replied, "The divorce petition will be filed by Alan on Tuesday. In just a few days, our private problem will become public knowledge." Looking at my daughters, I was preparing for the difficult year ahead. I wanted to be honest and show them respect from the very beginning. "It is important for you to understand that I bear no blame for what happened. Your mother is to blame for this chaos. She betrayed us by cheating on us, which led to the breakup of our marriage and the breakup of our family." Watching my daughters' reactions, I expected to see tears and sobs from Kara and Carla. I was stunned by my eldest daughter's stoic behavior. With a determined expression on her face, she hesitantly spoke. "Dad, I have something important to tell you, but I'm afraid you'll be upset." Without hesitation, I reached out and took Kale's hand, assuring her, "Getting upset with you is not an option." To my surprise, Kaylee burst into tears and looked at her sister Kara, silently nodding in understanding. The 2 sisters hugged and cried together, feeling mixed emotions. I unleashed a barrage of negativity on their mother. "Look at the chaos you've caused. How could you destroy our family like that?" I watched Kayla and Kara closely while Kate was talking. Her words did not make any impression on the girls. Instead, Kate calmed down and said, 2 years ago, after Mom returned from a cruise, she was sitting here with Aunt Jen and Aunt Mickey. We were upstairs in Kara's bedroom. I heard Mom, Jen, and Aunt Mickey talking. They laughed and bragged about who had more men on the cruise. They told me some disturbing details that I remember well but prefer not to repeat." "I remember everything too, Dad," Kara added. "Yes, Kay, I apologize for not telling you." "I'm sorry too, Dad," Kara said. Kay continued, "We understand that Mom's actions were wrong, but we were afraid to tell you about it." Little Carla may not have fully understood the situation, but she didn't want to be detached. Moving closer to Kara, she took her hand and joined them. Addressing all 3 girls, I assured them that they had nothing to apologize for. It's not their fault that their mother and aunt behaved inappropriately. When the conversation turned to how to live after the divorce, Kay expressed a desire to live with them and not with her mother, showing impressive foresight. Carla and Cara nodded in agreement, showing their support. But Kate expressed her erroneous opinion about the custody procedure in a divorce. "If your father doesn't stop this nonsense immediately, you will move in with me. I can assure you of that." The three girls looked worried and turned to me for an answer. I smiled and explained that as a rule in such situations, the mother gets the right of primary custody. Kay groaned when she noticed that. I raised my hand and went on to explain that mothers usually get custody because they are often the primary caregivers. Then I asked a few questions to the girls, signaling them to answer in silence. "Who makes you breakfast every morning? Who prepares lunch for you at school and dinner? Who goes grocery shopping every week? Who is with you every night when your mom was in a meeting? Who takes you to the doctor for annual checkups or when you feel unwell? Who coaches your sports teams and volunteers to follow school trips? Who takes you to dance classes and theater rehearsals?" And then at the end, I asked, "Can you name at least one thing that your mom does all the time and that benefits our family?" Kay jumped up from her chair, rounded the table, and jumped into my waiting arms. "Dad, you're the one who cares about us, and you're the best father in the world," Kay said, and her two sisters joined the hugging. After a moment's lull, I told the girls to go to their rooms so I could talk to their mother. Each of them kissed me on the cheek and left the kitchen, ignoring Kate, Jen, and Mickey. When they left, I reminded them not to eavesdrop and go to Carla's room as the situation was very emotional. I smiled when I heard 3 giggles and a chorus of "Okay, Dad." I turned to Mickey and Jen and said, "It looks like you've won." I could see that they didn't want to answer, but I pushed them to do so. "What do you mean?" asked Mickey. "I wanted to have a faithful and loving wife, and you wanted Kate to be as much a party girl as you are." "You have won," Mickey groaned in response. "I'm not like that, Chris," she protested. I couldn't help but laugh. "You are infected with gonorrhea, and this proves that you are a walking woman," Jen intervened, urging us to behave like adults. "We prefer to avoid inappropriate language," Jen interjected. She then explained to me that Kate's behavior during their annual trip was just a way for her to take a break from hard work. Jen jokingly remarked that if she needed a wild partner, she would choose another man as her spouse. To this remark, Mickey replied that I had never complained about their behavior in the past. The sisters nodded in agreement. Reflecting on my own actions, I confessed that at that time, I was young, greedy, and had no mate. After a short pause, I asked the group a question. "After meeting Kate, have I ever agreed to your numerous invitations to further intimacy?" The silence at the table made it clear that everyone knew the answer. I am not interested in a divorce and will do everything in my power to keep our family together. Fortunately, Kate, I don't need your consent to end our marriage. I have already initiated the divorce process, citing irreconcilable differences. If you decide to challenge this, I will seek a court order for you to be tested for sexually transmitted diseases. I have reason to believe that the gonorrhea found in your genital area will confirm your infidelity. I will expose your infidelity in front of the whole world and show you as a lying and unfaithful person. "Hey sis," Jen chimed in, "we'll leave you alone." Both sisters started to get up but stopped when I spoke, asking them to take out the trash before leaving. They looked puzzled until I gestured at Kate, telling them to take her to her room to pack for a few weeks and then take her out of my house. Kate tried to delay the divorce by contacting relatives and friends rather than resorting to formal procedures to avoid public disclosure of her personal affairs. Despite the court-ordered consultation, which lasted only 1 session, it became clear to the consultant that Kate had no desire to save the marriage. The prenuptial agreement was approved by the court, as a result of which Kate retained assets related to her work and I retained my business. In addition, I was given primary custody of our children, Kalia, Cara, and Carla. My 2 eldest daughters continued to show hostility towards their mother and aunt but maintained a strong bond with their maternal grandparents. On the other hand, my youngest, Carla, remained close to her mother and visited her regularly. Unfortunately, after the divorce, Kate had a hard time. The news of her divorce spread quickly, and even worse, she contracted gonorrhea and was forced to stay at home for a long time. Surprisingly, all 3 sisters eventually became infected. This proves that karma works in mysterious ways. Story 2. That evening, my wife Tricia was especially playful. When we were relaxing on the couch after dinner, she suddenly jumped into my arms, showering me with kisses and hugging me, showing a playfulness I hadn't seen in a long time. My name is Jacob, but my friends call me Jay. Trisha and I have been married for 4 years, having met shortly after I left the Marines. Serving in the Army awakened in me a passion for strength training and self-defense, which has not left me since then. For the last year, I served as a drill instructor, turning recruits into resilient soldiers ready for battle. Although it was interesting, I knew that my future would not be related to a military career. After my service, I became an entrepreneur and started a business renting gyms and fitness trainers. Thanks to the savings earned during 4 years of service in the Army, the business grew rapidly. I put all my efforts into expanding my business and helping other people. Tall and dedicated to fitness, helping others has always been a priority in my life. I instilled confidence in my clients by assuring them that I could help them transform their bodies. It was always a pleasure to watch them transform from insecure to strong in 6 months. Trisha, the sister of one of my clients, quickly became my close friend. Despite the difference in height and weight, she was shorter and lighter. We made a fun and dynamic duo. At 22, Trisha was thin, fragile, and seemingly innocent, and I was 26 with a lot of life experience behind me. Although at first, she showed no interest in training, we found joy in spending every moment together. Our friendship turned into a romantic relationship, which led to a wedding a year later. Our physical relationship was intense and satisfying, and Trisha turned out to be the best lover I've ever known. Her attentiveness, love, and ease in bed satisfied all my desires, and I deeply cherished her. I admired Trisha's playful and innocent nature, although some might mistake her for flighty. Despite her intelligence, she sometimes lacked common sense, which I found charming. Being an attractive fitness trainer, I often accepted courtship from the women I trained, and I constantly had to respect the boundaries of what was allowed. I had to install video cameras in the gym to protect myself from possible false accusations of intimate harassment from girls whom I refused. Some were angry when I rejected their advances, and I've heard of vindictive people making false accusations. I also installed remote control cameras at my house so that Trisha could check on me whenever she wanted. I wanted her to know how much I love and am devoted to her intimately. I may be too big for her in size and strength, but she never complained. Financially, we are doing well because my business is booming, and Trisha works as a real estate agent to bring in additional income. Last Sunday afternoon, we were enjoying relaxing in the living room with a bottle of wine when Trisha started acting more playful than usual. She laughed and jumped on my lap, kissing me like a schoolgirl. I couldn't deny that I liked her attention. She always knew how to show me her love. But our relationship took an unexpected turn when she revealed the reason for her sudden playfulness and excessive affection. With a smile that always melts my heart, she ran her hands through my hair and casually mentioned that Brian was inviting her to dinner next Friday night. It took me a while to process her words because I was sure I must have misheard her, and all the while, I was enjoying her charming smile. When I didn't answer, she asked again in her sweet voice, "You don't mind, do you, Jay?" I was puzzled and asked her to clarify. She explained that Brian from the office invited her to dinner next Friday, and she agreed. My brain finally processed her words, but I couldn't believe what she was asking. "So you're asking if you can go to dinner with Brian next week as a date?" I asked. She assured me that it wasn't a date but just dinner and maybe a movie. I was sitting in shock, realizing that my wife was asking for permission to go on a date with another man. "Trisha, this is the definition of a date. Is that what you want to do?" I asked. She explained that Brian is a good guy, and they get along great at work. She doesn't see it as a date, just a casual evening. My head was spinning. It was clear that she might have understood her question, but I doubted it. "Trisha, you know I've never been with another woman, and I haven't even thought about it. So how can you want to be with another man? Jay, don't be jealous. He doesn't look like you at all, and it's just for one night. I only love you, and I don't have any feelings for him, but I want this. I've already said yes to him. I hope you won't be upset." I wasn't just upset. The word upset wasn't the right word to describe my emotions at that moment. Fortunately, my military training helped me to keep myself in control while I thought about the situation and quickly developed a plan. "You've already agreed, so I understand," I said, picking up the phone and dialing the number of the woman who had been stalking me for several months. Trisha was still sitting on my lap and playing with my hair. "Hi, Angel, this is Jay." "I'm fine, thanks." "Listen to me, is the offer still valid on Friday evening?" "Great. My wife just told me she wants an open marriage, and I immediately thought of you. It's going to be a fun time. Let's meet this week to plan everything. Bye." Trisha stopped playing with my hair and gave me a confused look. "Who is Angel?" she asked. "One of my clients. She and I get along very well, and she makes me laugh, so we're meeting on Friday night, just like you," I explained. To my surprise, she got angry, jumped off my lap, and started yelling at me. I couldn't believe her reaction and tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't listen. "I can't believe you'd be interested in someone else," she accused. "I won't let you cheat on me." Trying to keep a straight face, I pointed out her own hypocrisy. "But is it okay that you're dating a colleague?" I asked. "That's different," she insisted. "How is it different?" I asked. "It's just an evening to have fun," she said. I reminded her that I was only following her example and wanting to have a free marriage. I explained that I never wanted to be with another woman until she said she wanted to be with another man. I made it clear to her that if she went on a date with Brian, then I would go on a date with Angel. I was hoping that we could stay faithful to each other and stay together after Friday night. I told her that I would sleep in the guest room. I need to make a decision about our marriage before we get intimate. The thought of you being with someone else is too painful for me to even think about being intimate with you. I don't feel any connection with you right now, I said. Trisha was crying and angry, and although normally I would have comforted her, I couldn't do that at the moment. I gave her time to calm down before I spoke again. "Next week, you and I will go to a psychological meeting to find out why I'm not enough for you, and maybe if you can make me understand this problem, we can save our marriage. It is important to clarify that the outcome of our situation now depends only on your decisions. The idea that you want to be with another man makes me think about getting a divorce, but I'm old enough to handle it. The future of our relationship will be determined by our experiences on Friday night and how we will feel after dating other people. Remember, Trisha, the choice to go on a date with Brian is yours. I will not change my plans, and you must be prepared for any consequences." Still upset and confused, she left the room without saying a word. Sometime later, I overheard her talking to her sister on the phone, which was not surprising. Apparently, my sister did not agree with her because an hour later, she returned to me, behaving sweetly and innocently. But I remained careful and did not allow her attempts to manipulate me. "My dear, I think I made a mistake agreeing to a date with Brian. I decided to cancel it because I only want to be with you. The choice is yours, Trisha, but I have already decided to put an end to this issue. You can go on a date or stay at home, but I'm not going to cancel my date with Angel. You told me how much you wanted it, and your actions hurt me. At the moment, I feel the need to see what our relationship with Angel will lead to. Maybe we should really think about dating other people and having a truly open marriage. You have to understand that every choice we make has consequences. It was your decision, and you were the one who agreed to go on a date with him. It hurt me, and it's something I can't easily forgive," I said. She tried to explain again. "Jay, it wouldn't be a real date, please believe me. It's just going to be a chance meeting. It's okay, I'll cancel it. Maybe we can just go out together on Friday night." Ignoring her, I just took a beer and went out into the yard to collect my thoughts. I spent the night in the guest room and heard Trisha crying. For the rest of the week, she cried. The next day, Helen, Trisha's sister, called me. "Jay, are you really dating another woman this week? You can't do this to Trisha, she loves you so much." I explained to Helen that Trisha had decided to go on a date with a colleague. She made a decision without considering my feelings and our marriage. I told Helen that I had always been faithful to Trisha and hadn't even thought about being with another woman since the day we met. But I wasn't sure I wanted to stay married to a woman who was interested in other men. Helen understood my point of view and asked me to be patient with Trisha, as she does not realize the extent of her actions. She urged me to give Trisha another chance and try to figure out the situation together. "Helen, I'm trying to be patient and not react violently, but Trisha needs to realize the consequences of her actions," I said. After Helen talked to Trisha and made her understand how her decision to date another man affected our marriage, Trisha apologized and begged me to cancel the dates. But I was determined to make her realize the seriousness of her action and decide the future of our relationship. I wanted to even the odds and show Trisha how much pain she caused. Hearing that your wife wants to date another man is a very painful experience, and I hope that no one else will have to go through this. I had planned for Angel to pick me up that evening to introduce her to my wife and show her that she was dating a married man. Despite Trisha's reluctance to go on a date with a work buddy, I insisted that she fulfill her obligations to her so-called boyfriend, Brian. Trisha was nervous about my meeting with Angel. My wife didn't try to dress provocatively for a date, which gave me a glimmer of hope for our relationship. I insisted that she meet with him to certify her in our new open marriage, despite her arguments against it. I decided to ignore her opinion, seeming insensitive. Although I may not have done the right thing, I considered my actions justified. Trisha was stunned when Angel showed up at 6 o'clock in the evening. Angel was the exact opposite of Trisha. Trisha was a petite girl, and Angel was tall and in great shape thanks to training. Her large breasts barely stood out from under her dress, and she radiated elegance as she stood next to me, dressed in a tight-fitting sports jacket that accentuated my muscular figure. I insisted that Trisha take some pictures of us together before leaving, much to her chagrin. Our look together was amazing. We looked like a couple who could decorate the cover of a sports training magazine. Despite Trisha's obvious rage and envy, she was powerless to do anything. She finally realized that she had opened Pandora's box that she might not be able to close. I chuckled to myself as I introduced them to each other and heard Angel greet Trisha warmly. Angel mentioned her open marriage to Trisha, expressing her happiness for her, and also shared her excitement about dating the man she had been stalking for a year. Trisha, in turn, congratulated Angel on her new boyfriend. There was tension in the room, and Trisha seemed about to explode. Trisha hesitated to answer when her thoughts were interrupted by the doorbell, and she realized that it was Brian. Nervously opening the door, she greeted him, surprising him with her appearance. Brian's height was about the same as Trisha's if she had been wearing high heels. He wasn't particularly attractive, and I couldn't figure out what she saw in him. He had thinning hair and was quite plump. I felt the lack of physical threat, but he was still a problem in our relationship. I realized that the man was horrified to see how much bigger I was than him. His hand was small, cold, and sticky when I jokingly shook his bony palm and told him, "My wife is ready for your date. Have fun." He just nodded, as if asking Trisha for help. Angel and I laughed as we left, knowing that Trisha was probably furious. I didn't feel guilty at all and hoped that everything would be fine. The next morning, around 6 o'clock in the morning, we drove up to my house. Angel dropped me off, and I felt relieved to finally be home. On the driveway, we exchanged a warm and long goodbye kiss, which I was sure Trisha was watching from the window. Angel and I had a wonderful dinner, a night of dancing in her favorite club, a walk along the beach after the club closed, and breakfast in bed the next day, after which she drove me home. It was an eventful night. She was a pleasant companion, danced well, had a fantastic sense of humor, and was incredibly attractive. Despite the amazing kiss, we didn't go any further, but the chemistry between us hinted at the potential for an exciting relationship. But my mind was on Trisha all evening. As I danced, I couldn't help but think about my wife. Walking along the beach brought back memories of how Trisha and I vacationed on the Hawaiian Islands. Every moment, except for the goodnight kiss, was filled with thoughts of Trisha. My heart was torn between happiness and sadness. When I entered my house, I couldn't help but wonder if it would ever be my home again. Trisha had already woken up and was waiting for me, greeting me with a kiss and asking how I spent the night. Ignoring her comment, I asked about her date with Brian. She immediately accused me of sleeping with Angel, and that made me angry. I assured her that it was just a first date and reminded her that I wouldn't do it. When the conversation turned to whether we would meet other people again, Trisha admitted that she realized her mistake and regretted what she had done. She explained that she just wanted to chat with someone in a friendly way, but my reaction made her look at things differently. Despite her tears and apologies, I couldn't get rid of the feeling of disbelief that being married to me, she could even think about dating another man. She finally realized the seriousness of her action. Perhaps she mistakenly perceived him as a casual interlocutor, as one of her friends. This man did not pose a serious danger, and perhaps I overreacted. I was still amazed by the idea that any woman can believe that her husband does not mind his wife dating another man, even an innocent one. I hugged her tightly. "Trisha, I love you, but I can't be with a woman who wants other men. For some reason, I do not tolerate infidelity. If you cheat on me again, lie to me, or hide it from me, I will not hesitate to kick you out of the house and immediately file for divorce. Do you understand the seriousness of this?" I asked. She hugged me and assured me, "Yes, dear, I will never betray you. I have always been faithful to you and only to you." "You still haven't told me how your date with Brian went," she insisted. It wasn't a date, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. "We had dinner together, but he was so surprised to see you, and I hurt his hand that he drove me home right after that. It wasn't a very pleasant evening, and I had a terrible time. He dropped me off around 8 o'clock at night, and I couldn't stop thinking about what you were doing to her all night. When I remembered how you kissed her, I felt uneasy." Trisha started crying again. I hugged her and assured her that everything would be fine. I chuckled to myself, remembering how I shook his hand after meeting him. He seemed timid to me. I was hoping he would behave like a gentleman this evening, and that was one of the reasons I was looking forward to meeting him. "Before you and Angel left, Trisha, let's leave last night alone for now. But I'm serious about seeing a psychologist. I still need to understand some things, and you need to understand my feelings too. If we can sort this out and restore trust, then I will not accept the courtship of Angel or any other woman," I said. Her eyes widened as she realized that Angel wasn't the only threat. We spent the whole day in bed rebuilding our relationship and expressing our love for each other. Sleeping in my own bed was once again a step towards restoring my sanity. Consulting with Mrs. Williams turned out to be the solution to our problems. With understanding and compassion, she helped Trisha realize how her actions affected me. Trisha saw Brian only as a friend, not a romantic partner, and tried to explain that their date was just a friendly meeting, not a date. Mrs. Williams helped Trisha understand that spending time with another man in a monogamous relationship is unacceptable because it means leaving her husband. At first, Trisha tried to argue that it was no different from dating a friend, but Mrs. Williams explained how important fidelity is in a relationship. Trisha also expressed feelings of injustice and jealousy toward another woman I was dating, but Mrs. Williams offered a different perspective to help her feel calmer. When it was finally my turn to speak, I expressed my understanding of her intentions but made it clear that I couldn't accept that she was spending time with other men. Looking directly at Trisha, I confessed my love to her and noted the pain I felt when she told me she was dating Brian. My instincts related to military training kicked in, making me react more to fight than to flight. I warned her that if she continued to date other men, then I, in turn, would start dating other women. Although I never intended to do so, I apologized for my reaction but put the blame on her. I established the law by stating that if she repeats this behavior, then within a week, I will hand her the divorce papers. I made it clear that I will not tolerate infidelity in our marriage. Despite the fact that she did not perceive her actions as a date, I was ready to work on our relationship. There was silence in the room after my attack, but it was the impetus for a change. Trisha began to understand my feelings better, and we began to communicate more effectively, which ultimately strengthened our marriage. After this ordeal, we continued therapy for several months and found new ways to prioritize our relationship. Angel showed sympathy by contacting Trisha and promising to give up on my harassment. She made it clear that if Trisha ever decided to leave me, she would be ready to step in. This gesture made Trisha realize the value of our relationship and how easily she could lose me to someone else. She never gave me any reason to be jealous or to think about being with another man. Trisha realized how important it is to make the right choice on dates and what consequences wrong decisions can lead to. Although Brian and Trisha remained friends, Brian was hesitant to develop their relationship further out of fear. I realized that sometimes women don't understand conventional thinking.